Morning, guys. 95 to 98% of us go through our lives in a state called drifting. And what drifting is a state of mind, really. It can be a negative state of mind, or it can just be a state of mind where we're really not living our why. Why do we really do what we do? So once we are aware of that, and once we acknowledge that we are meant for more than that, we're the only ones in nature that can drift. Every other creature, every other part of nature has a definite purpose, a why for what it does. So human beings are the only ones. So it all goes back to, again, finding your one word, or finding what it is that is bigger than just you, that can drive you each and every single day to get up and do what you want to do. You got to ask yourself why. Why do you do what you do? Don't worry about the how. The how can seem insurmountable, but the why, that's your aim, your target. Have a great day, everybody.
I believe you're happiest not when you're watching TV. You're not happiest when you're playing with your apps. You're not happiest when you're looking for likes. You're not happiest when you're fooling around. You're happiest when you're growing. I think we're hardwired. That it's a survival mechanism. We're happiest when we're making progress. So we have a deep fear of self-betrayal. And when we don't capitalize on our talents, what starts to happen is that we start to lose energy, we lose creativity, and we lose productivity. I believe that many of us, the reason we don't have energy, the reason why we're not as creative as we want, the reason why we're not as productive as we want, is because we have betrayed our talent, and the deep, wise, primal hero within knows of that self-betrayal, and we start to hate ourselves. Is that an interesting point, show of hands? The place of knowing within you knows that you've betrayed your talents, and we start to hate ourselves. And so we have a deep well of self-loathing inside of us that actually minimizes the four interior empires. And the four interior empires are the gateway into the exterior empires of creativity, productivity, performance, prosperity, lifestyle, and impact. How do you get to creativity, productivity, prosperity, performance, lifestyle, and impact? Through the four interior empires: mindset, heart set, health set, and soul set. So that first fear is important. Second fear, fear of standing out. Well, how are you going to innovate if you haven't worked through your fear? This is why personal mastery is the gateway into, it's the gateway drug into world class.
If you're not happy right now, it's probably because you're not growing. Humans want to grow, we want to learn, we want to improve, we want to get better, we want to feel like we're making meaningful progress somewhere. And when we feel like we're learning and growing and the work that we do matters, we feel great, right? If you felt great when you learned a new skill, when you helped somebody out, when you felt that the work you were doing was meaningful, it felt amazing. But if you have too many days in a row where you feel like it's too hard, it's too big, you're not growing, you're not learning, there's no hope, that leads down a really dangerous and negative path, not where we want to be. And part of why we become entrepreneurs is because we want to grow, right? Because we don't want to have a crappy, boring job working for somebody else, wasting our talents away. I remember I didn't have that many jobs, but I had a landscaping job, which was super boring, just every day, just rolling out grass. And then I had a data entry job where this really turned me off of the corporate world, where I was doing the work of, we had 5 people on my team, and I was doing more work than all of the others combined. And I didn't take lunch breaks. I just kept working. And my boss wasn't happy that because I was overhead lighting gave me headaches. I used to have to bring in some snacks like food or popcorn or carrots or something, so I didn't get crazy headaches. And my boss didn't like that I was eating a snack while I was working, and I got into trouble and almost got fired, even though I was doing more work than my entire team combined. And it just really turned me off of the corporate world to realize, hey, this doesn't make any sense. I wasn't growing. I wasn't learning. I wasn't improving. And so you can examine your own life. If you feel like you're in a rut, chances are you haven't learned anything recently. And so we can plan for this. You can change your schedule so that you can focus on learning. You can put it into your daily calendar. And this is where I think it becomes the greatest benefit, my greatest tactic or strategy for you, for myself, is schedule in learning, schedule in growing. So for me, it's my own videos. I make these videos hopefully for you, that you learn and improve and something sparks for you, but I make them for me. I make them for me because I need it, because I need to be around people who are doing big things, and that I know that every day there's a video for me. It's going to be positive, it's going to be uplifting, it's going to spread belief, it's going to be motivational or inspiring, it's going to be tactical, and I know that on my channel I'm going to get content that I want. And so I've hired a whole team and built a whole business basically around making content that I want to watch, and thankfully enough of you guys want to watch it as well that I can build a business and have a team. But if I didn't, or nobody else cared about it, I would still do it for me. It may not be as fancy, may not have as much intros and all that stuff, but I would still have it for me because I need it. And so we tend to catch these things too late because it's not part of our habits and routines. So if you notice, you go to an event or you watch a video and you get all inspired and you got energy and you're working and things are amazing, cool, and then have weeks or months come by and you realize, what happened to me? How did I fall off the horse so quickly? Where did my energy go? Has that happened to you? Chances are it's because it wasn't scheduled. Part of the entrepreneur roller coaster is because we're bouncing from one high to the next without having any scheduled in learning and growth. And so my challenge to you would be to try to figure out how can we schedule in learning and growing every day. And so it starts with figuring out, okay, what medium do you like the most? For me, I like videos. I like being able to see stuff. It just makes it so much easier for me. I'm a visual learner. Before YouTube was a thing, I learned from books. That was the best thing available at the time. Now, I still have a habit of reading 10 pages at least a night, but I don't get most of my learning from books. I get most of my learning from videos. But for you, maybe it's videos. If you're watching this, maybe it's books, maybe it's podcasts, something. Like, where do you get the best learning? And then the great thing about where we are right now is there's so much content, there's so many people to learn from, there's so many people creating things out there that you can go and learn from them. If I look at an Eric Thomas or an Oprah Winfrey, they have a similar message, just a different delivery style. So whatever you want to learn, chances are somebody's already making content on it. And so just go and find them. Think about who you're following right now. Like, do an audit of who you follow right now. Who are you following on YouTube? Who are you following on Instagram or TikTok? Or what podcasts you listen to? Or what books are you picking up? And how many of those people that you're following or subscribed to actually make you feel ambitious and hopeful and better about yourself and give you strategies and light you up and feel like you're learning and growing, right? That's the whole point of this. We're trying to make growing and learning a consistent habit. So how many people that you're following actually make you want to learn and grow? And how many of them are you just mindlessly scrolling through? When you load your Instagram or your YouTube and you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling and 2 hours have gone by, and not only have you not learned anything, you feel worse about your life because now you haven't been productive. You've just kind of mindlessly entertained yourself, but it wasn't even that entertaining. You're like, what just happened to the past 2 hours of my life? Has that happened to you? Cool. Unfollow those people. And it's not that they're bad people, just that content doesn't light you up. And then start to be around the people who do. And the easiest way is through content. So if it's my channel, hey, good news, we got content every single day for you. You'll never run out of Evan Carmichael content to watch. But it could be somebody else in marketing or business or entrepreneurship or personal development or whatever category you're in, to subscribe to those people and be around them as much as possible and watch their videos every day. Schedule it in. For me, I go for a walk every morning, call it my Believe Walk. I just like getting some sun on my face and fresh air and getting out of the home, and it just gives me some perspective and a little bit of motion and helps me set up my day. And then I'll have a video going from my channel. And every morning when somebody else, it'll be Elon Musk or Oprah Winfrey or Mel Robbins or Tony Robbins or Gary Vee or Tom Billy or whatever. And that's what we do, is pull the best clips that I would learn from, and then we share it with everybody else. But that's a part of my daily routine. And I've seen my own growth and development and learning and bravery and courage and momentum and consistency be directly contributed and correlated to the content that I'm consuming daily. And so step one is to unfollow and unsubscribe from people who just make you waste time, feel worse about yourself, get envy, or just mindlessly tune out. And step two then is to figure out, I need to make learning, you need to make learning and growing part of your daily habit. And so where in your calendar can that fit? If it's over breakfast, if it's a morning walk, if it's an afternoon lunch, like where in your calendar can you put learning from your preferred style, video, podcast, books, etc., learning into your daily calendar? If you did that, your life will change. If you did that every day for the next year, every day, if you did that, if you scheduled that and you actually did it, and you watched a video, read a book, or listened to a podcast that inspired you, said, you know what, I can do this, I can do more, I can be more, I can accomplish this, I gotta stop thinking small and stop doubting myself and stop telling myself that I suck and I can't do it. I can do this. And if you felt that energy every day from watching a piece of content that you intentionally put into your habits and routine every day for the next year, your life will totally transform. You will be a totally different person, which then allows you to serve more, to help more, to make more money, to guide more, to be a leader more. All of it, all of your ambitions and dreams and everything that you want is all possible. But you have to factor learning and growing into your daily, consistent habits and routine.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there.
Good morning, guys. Top 10 rules for success today. Warren Buffett is summarizing his top 10 rules, and I want to share with you his rule number 4, which is simply read, read, read. This is the greatest investor in the world, and I would argue one of the greatest human beings in the world, a philanthropist, a guy with a great philosophy, and he's saying he reads 5 to 6 hours a day minimum in total of all the things that he reads. He's a voracious reader. Now, some of you might be thinking, I don't even want to read one book. You know, I've heard that from many of my friends. My friends, sometimes, I'll talk to them, I'm telling them I'm writing a book, and they're like, you know what, Nick, I don't read books, but I'll read yours. And, it makes me laugh, and it's kind of flattering, but it's sad for me because I think you have the ability to do it. And when you start doing it, you get into the minds of great people like yourself, like all of us, and we start to think differently and expand our mind. So read, read, read. Have a great day, everybody.
Personality literally is made up of how you think, how you act, and how you feel. And how you think, how you act, and how you feel is your personality, and your personality is intimately connected to your personal reality, your life. So then if you want to change your life, your personal reality, you got to change your personality. And And here we go again. You got to start becoming conscious of your unconscious thoughts. You got to start noticing how you act, how you speak. You got to pay attention to how you're feeling. Some people would live in guilt their whole entire life and don't even know it's guilt because at least it feels like them. So then when you start doing that, you begin to objectify your subjective self. So when you begin to make small changes, back to thought, a new thought should lead to a new choice. A new choice should lead to a new behavior. A new behavior should create a new experience, and a new experience should create a new emotion.
Yes.
And that new emotion is teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind has intellectually understood. Now your body is embodying the truth, right? So then the new emotion should inspire new thoughts, and that's called evolution.
Want to be happy? Build a life, not just a business. Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and this channel was created to help you overcome the #1 challenge that is holding you back, a lack of belief in yourself. You watch these videos because you know there's something more inside you too. You've got Michael Jordan level genius at something. So today, let's live your best believed life and learn how you can destroy your negative thoughts. Enjoy.
So how do we get stuck? It's really simple. The stronger the emotion you feel from some event in your life, be it a betrayal or a trauma or whatever, the more altered you feel inside of you, the more you pay attention to the cause outside of you. So the brain takes a snapshot. It freezes an image and embosses that pattern neurologically in the brain. That's called a memory. So we create long-term memories from strong emotional events, okay?
So is that true then? I just want to understand. Maybe the larger the event in terms of its emotion to you, the stronger hold it has over you?
Yeah, well, the more it's embossed in your biology.
Okay.
So certain people have a strong experience in their life, and it catches all of the brain's attention. So now they think neurologically within the circuits of the past experience, and they feel chemically within the boundaries of those emotions. And so how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. Now here's the problem. That if you don't know how to mediate or control your emotional reaction to that event, and you keep that refractory period of chemicals going on for extended periods of time, so that the event produces a chemical change, and the body needs to return back to homeostasis or balance. But if it can't, then the elongation of that emotional reaction for weeks, say, for days or weeks is called a mood. So you say, what's wrong with you? I'm in a mood. Why are you in a mood? Well, this thing happened to me 5 days ago, and I'm having one long emotional reaction. So then what you do is you keep telling the story about it, keep firing and wiring the same circuits, and you keep conditioning the body into the past. So then you wake up in the morning and you look for the emotion. So then now, all of a sudden, you keep it lingering for weeks or months. That's called the temperament. Well, why is he so angry? I don't know. Let's ask him. Why are you so angry? Well, this thing happened to me 8 months ago. I'm having one long emotional reaction. I'm memorizing my emotions. You keep it going on for years on end. That's called a personality trait. So then a person then is memorizing themselves by living in the past. And so then you say to them, well, tell me the story. Now, the latest research on memory says that 50% of what we talk about in our past isn't even the truth. So we make stuff up about the past. In other words, people are reliving a life that they didn't even have just to reaffirm that they can change, right? So then what's the significance of this? Where you place your attention is where you place your energy. Period.
Yes.
So then the stronger the emotion that you have to some problem or condition or person in your life, the more you're paying attention to them. So they captured your attention. So you're giving your power away to that person, right? Because they're capturing your attention. So then there's an energetic connection to every person, everything in your past, present reality has your energy connected to it. So now, this is the significance. When a person really decides to be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memory of the past, the hardest part about it is all of a sudden becoming conscious and not making the same unconscious choice. So then, if you lower the volume to your frustration, to your hatred, to your anger, if you truly knew how to do that, if you lowered the volume to that emotion, you would take your attention off that person, which means you would begin to break those energetic bonds, and now you're taking your power back.
Yes.
You're calling energy back to you, and we've measured this, and all of a sudden it builds this bigger electromagnetic field around the person's body. That's energy to heal. That's energy to create a new future with, right? And then if you didn't want to lower the volume to the emotion, then just take your attention off the person. And every time you take your attention off the person, if you became conscious of that, you wouldn't feel the emotion. Now the body, though, has been addicted to that emotion
Right.
because you're using that person to
Yes.
reaffirm your addiction to hatred or frustration. And if that person died, you'd find another one. So then here you go now. So now you're in a position now where you begin to lower the volume to that emotion, and the body's going, wait a second, you've been doing this for the last 20 years, and all of a sudden you're just going to stop hating? And the body says, well, I've been conditioned this way, and conditioning is based on the past. So when the body feels the lack of that emotion, just like a drug addict, it says, hey, you're off schedule here. So now the body starts influencing the mind to think about experiences that are embossed in the brain that are based on that emotion. So the emotion now is causing you to think in the past. If we teach a person then how to trade that frustration or that hatred for an elevated emotion, and they'll say, yeah, but you know, it was my ex's fault, or I got betrayed by my partner in business. Yeah, we know that. Okay, so let's take your partner in business or take your ex. Let's duct tape them, put them in a cannon, and shoot them to the moon. Now what are you going to do? Sooner or later, you got to reckon with yourself and change, right? So then teach a person then how to trade that emotion for an elevated emotion. Now,
Trade the emotion for an elevated emotion.
right. So you're going to give that up, and you're going to practice feeling gratitude as an example.
Yes.
And the person says, well, I can't feel gratitude. And I say, absolutely you can, because you don't practice feeling it. You practice spending most of your time feeling hatred and frustration. So now it's going to take a little time to cause that heart of you to bloom, or your heart of yours to bloom. Once they're able to feel even the smallest measure of gratitude, where they start feeling appreciation, thankfulness, gratitude, it's emotional signature. When you get something, when you're receiving something, when something has happened to you, or when something is happening to you, you say thank you because you're receiving something. So the emotional signature of gratitude means the event has already happened or it's happening to you. So the moment you open your heart and you feel gratitude, well, that emotion then is telling the body that the experience has already occurred. And the thought then can make it into the body because it's consistent with the thought. So now you're beginning to program the autonomic nervous system into a very specific destiny. You got to maintain that modified state of mind and body your entire day, independent of the conditions in your outer environment, independent of your body's cravings of those emotions and habituations, and independent from time. And if you can, get ready, because something weird or unusual, some synchronicity, some coincidence, some opportunity is going to land in your lap. And you didn't have to go and get it. Yes. It came to you. Now you're the vortex of creation. So if you say to me, well, I was feeling gratitude, but then there was traffic, or my coworker sent me a nasty email, then I would say, oh my God, you mean you're allowing your environment, your outer environment, to control how you feel and think? You're back to the unconscious program that you're the victim to your life.
You got it.
But when you start producing those outcomes in your life, you're going to pay attention to what you did inside of you, and you're going to believe more that you're the creator of your life and less of the victim of your life.
Rule number 2, take control with Mel Robbins.
If you've been sitting around waiting for somebody to discover you, to pick you, to save you, to rescue you, to give you your shot, it's not happening. Like, at some point, you got to wake up and realize when you're 18 and you're out of that house, you have to parent yourself. Your life is your responsibility. And as a woman, one of the things that I found to be extraordinarily transformational is when I stopped, in a very traditional sense, looking to my partner to be responsible for providing for me. Providing financially, providing the support, providing. When I realized, wait a minute, it starts with me. I have to be able to figure out how to make myself happy. That's, by the way, the secret to a happy relationship. Marry somebody who's happy and work on your own happiness.
Preach.
And so when you stop outsourcing your happiness, your validation, your support, all of it, and you bring it back in and you get responsible for it, it sounds scary. It's so liberating because you could do anything. When you're responsible, when you're the driver of your life, when you're not looking out to anybody else to fix it for you, can you ask for help? Of course. But the buck stops with you. You're the one that has to do the work. You're the one who has to push your own ass. You're the one who has to figure out what makes you happy. You're the one who has to figure out and become self-aware about what you need. And then you're the one that has to find whatever it is, the courage or being humble enough to ask for help. Even if it's asking for help from the biggest ally that you have, which is the person staring back at you in the mirror every damn morning.
Yeah, I don't know why people aren't more obsessed with their goals. It's like, if my goals demand that I ask for help, then I'm going to ask for help. Like, I'm not even going to let anything else get in the way. I'm just so obsessed with, if my goal is exciting and honorable, then I should actually want to achieve it, and therefore whatever it is that I need to do.
So, Tom, this is why. And this comes back to what has made me really sad and deeply moved by the kinds of things that people are sharing. Most people aren't obsessed with their goals because they don't believe they're worthy of them. It's easy to dream about what you want, but in between where you are and what you want, there's a tremendous amount of stuff you got to change and do. And if you have a lot of trauma in your background, or you were raised by somebody who beat the shit out of you or told you were a piece of shit, or if you've had to deal with microaggressions or racist, discriminatory, systematic crap your entire life, you have been given the message over and over and over, even though it's not true, that you don't deserve it, that there's something wrong with you. And if you don't, at some point, be defiant against what the world or your caregivers or your past experience has pounded into your brain incorrectly, unfairly, you will forever be stuck with that story. You are not responsible for what happened to you. You survived what happened to you. But you do have a responsibility to heal yourself and to do the work to change so that you can be the happy, fulfilled person that you were born to be.
Yeah, that's really powerful because it's the only thing that works. And, you know, thinking about, so many people have just immense things that have happened that have been unfair. And as you said, they didn't do anything to deserve it. But now what? Now you're there, you've got the trauma, and no one can heal it for you. There's a name for it. I think it's called the pedestrian problem. It's like, imagine that you get hit by a car and the driver was drunk. And let's say that the driver was Bill Gates. And let's say that you win a settlement. But if the damage that happened to your body can't be fixed with all the money in the world, and you just have to do physical therapy, then it's like, even though it is unfair that you have to do the physical therapy, there is no amount of money that you can throw at it that will stop you from having to suffer to build yourself back up. And I think a lot of people either fall prey to trap number one, which is they don't think they're worthy, or they fall prey to trap number two, which is it's so unfair they just don't take action. Right. But they're nonetheless in the situation that they're in. And if the whole punchline to life is neurochemistry and feeling joyful and, you know, being excited about who you are when you're by yourself, then it's like, well, you have to do the work, even if it isn't fair. And that to me,
especially if it isn't.
Why
because
especially?
There's two kinds of prisons that you can sentence yourself to or be sentenced to, right? One is all the physical shit you're talking about, the circumstances of your life, the circumstances of your body, the circumstances that are unfair. And then there is the mental prison, and that's the one you're in control of. So people can do all kinds of shit to you, and you can be born into situations that are not fair, they're not safe, they're cruel, it's unfair, you didn't deserve it. But the real power that you always have is how you react to it mentally. I'm not saying put lipstick on a pig and ignore the very real problems you're facing. I'm saying it begins with your mental attitude about your own ability to face it and to survive it and to move past it. That's what I'm saying. Because without that, like, let's go back to the woman in the domestic violence shelter who's had the shit beaten out of her by partners, who has immense emotional trauma stored in her nervous system, stored in the neurochemistry of her brain. She has an extraordinary amount of hurdles to get through in her life to heal, to be safe, to break patterns that are associated with the trauma that she's experienced as a child, the trauma that she experienced in romantic relationships, the physical abuse. She has issues related to poverty. Can a human being survive those things and change? Of course they can. It begins, though, with the belief that you can. And so when I come back to this moment every single morning, you can have nothing and you can still have your own back. You can have tremendous problems and very real obstacles that you're facing. And you can have a mindset that says, through my efforts, my attitude, I can have an impact on the situation that I'm in. That's the power that I have. I can ask for help because I believe I deserve it. I can seek therapy because I believe I should heal because I deserve that. I can seek information from shows like Impact Theory about how to break trauma patterns, about how to regulate my nervous system, because I believe I am worthy of that. When I raise my hand in the mirror, I'm basically saying, F off to these people that hurt me because I believe that I deserve better. That's where it begins. It begins with you. Self-confidence, self-love, self-esteem, self-reliance, self-awareness. It all has the same self. You have to give yourself those things. You want validation? Give it to yourself. You want to be cheered for? Give it to yourself. If you want to feel supported in life, start by giving those things to yourself, because the most important relationship that you have is the one you have with yourself, and you work on it the least. It's the foundation of every relationship you have. And so I believe that there are simple things you can do, from looking at hearts, which doesn't solve your problems. It proves to you that it's possible to change the way your brain works. That's why I want you to do it. It's not going to take away poverty. It's not going to make you lose 100 pounds. It's going to prove to you that you do have power over the way your mind works. And when you get crafty about training your brain, you can do really cool shit. And when your attitude is optimistic, based on research, we know that you will work harder and keep going because you believe that it makes a difference. It begins with these simple things.
Rule number 3, shift to a positive attitude with Lewis Howes.
This is something I learned.
Good morning, guys. Today, living, laughing, and loving our way to infinite mind health. I was laughing yesterday. I got to tell you, when I've started this journey in the new year of going on here and writing my book, trying to really help as many people as possible, I've had nothing but great comments, positive things, and it's just driven me more and more each day. It's allowed me to build my confidence and be where I am. But I got to be honest with you, there's been a couple of comments that weren't positive, they were negative, and a couple of them actually really made me laugh. And I thought, well, if we are going to go on this path to infinite mind wealth, which is that path of not letting anything bother us and nothing can take away our happiness, we got to be able to laugh. So, and not only laugh, just be empathetic towards the fact that there's other human beings out there that are still trying to find the positive in things. And that's the aim. So I wanted to share that with you. I was laughing at myself yesterday. I'm still laughing at myself, and I'm still going, buddy.
We live in such a sedentary culture, right? Where we're spending 8, 10, sometimes 12 hours a day sitting, staring at our screens. So we're living from the neck up. And many of us have lost touch with the wisdom and the intelligence that exists in our physical bodies because simply we're not moving enough. And as someone who's been a Nike athlete, fitness is a big part of my life. Movement is a huge part of my life. I see very clearly when I am moving consistently, I have access. It's like a channel opens up where there is so much intelligence and so much much insight that has not to do with my logical, reasonable brain. It has to do with another plane. And when I don't, I get up here and it all gets twisted and then I'm unclear. So if you are facing an opportunity, a possibility to say yes to a job, a speaking engagement, a date, who knows, it could be any realm of life, and you're not sure whether you should move ahead with it, here's what you need to do. Get to a place where you're quiet, nothing's around, make sure that there's no technology, and I would invite people to close their eyes while they do this. So ask yourself, does the idea of moving ahead with this, of saying yes to this, make me feel expansive or contracted? In the nanosecond after you ask yourself that question, your body will have a physical response.
Need motivation?
Watch Top 10 with Believe Nation.
Hey, it's Evan Carmichael, and I make these videos because you are probably the most ambitious person in your circle, but you know you're capable of more. And you get that push by surrounding yourself with the best. So today, let's learn from one of the best, Marie Forleo, and my take on her top 10 rules of success. Enjoy.
So let's walk through what expansive.
Everyone who's listening and watching right now, do this with us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So expansive, and I'll just give some possibilities, but yours might show up differently. So expansive may actually be as though your shoulders are relaxing and your chest is opening up. Expansive may feel like even your physical body is moving ahead in space. Expansive may feel like a twinge or a tingle of excitement or joy or anticipation. Even if the notion of this feels intimidating to you or like something you've never done before, there is a lightness, a moving forward, a ever so subtle, visceral yes, whether it shows up in word form or merely through the movement of your body. That's expansive. Now, let's look at the flip side. If you ask yourself this question, does the idea of saying yes to this make me feel expansive or contracted? And in the nanosecond after you ask that question, you find a pit in your stomach, or a sense of dread, or your shoulders kind of hunching forward, or even your body just shaking back in space, or your head saying no. That's your intuition trying to save your butt and tell you, don't move ahead with this. And here's why this is so important, Jay. Because often when we're faced with an opportunity that our ego thinks we should move ahead with, right? Either there's a significant amount of money on the line, or some type of opportunity that we feel will give us an edge, something beyond the competition, or put us on a level that we're playing in a field that we're like, yeah, now we've really made it. And it looks good on paper, but something inside is like not right. That's when we need to listen to this most and use this test, because I don't know if you've experienced this, when you override those little feelings of dread, even though everything looks so cool on paper, that's when we get ourselves into trouble and get off track.
Rule number 2, get specific and consistent.
Why do we stop doing the things that we all know are good for us, especially when we've been able to make the time before? It's a head scratcher, am I right? Now, obviously, it makes no logical sense, right? But then again, we know that we human beings are not logical creatures. We are emotional and often irrational when it comes to our behavior. Now, the truth is there are a gajillion different reasons why many of us stop doing the things that we know are good for us. Some people just get bored, right? Some people rebel against any kind of structure or authority, even if it's themselves. And some people get off track, like if their schedule changes or they travel or somebody gets sick or something like that. Now, as a coach, I'm usually not a big fan of why questions. First, because in this format, I can't talk with you. I can't get to the root of your specific situation by asking you more questions. But more broadly, why questions can sometimes encourage a little bit of navel gazing, right? And they can easily spiral into beating yourself up, thinking that you suck, or that you're just not built to be consistent and disciplined, all of which is not true. So I think a better, smarter, and more helpful question is, how can I be more consistent in doing the things that I know make me feel good? Or how can I set myself up to win the vast majority of time? Now, those questions are questions that we can tackle. Plus, how questions really aim your brain towards the solution, right? Rather than the problem. That's our everything is figure outable philosophy in action. But before we talk about the how, I do want to make something very, very clear. April, my love, you are not bad and you are not weak for falling off the wagon of being consistent. Virtually everybody I know does stuff like this, including me. That's because we are human, right? We have this vision sometimes of these perfect meditators who meditate twice a day, every day, and never ever miss. Or we hear about people like Jerry Seinfeld, who write a big X on his calendar every day he writes a joke, and that he never breaks his streak. But guess what? Even Jerry Seinfeld doesn't do this. On a Reddit Ask Me Anything, he actually said, "This is hilarious to me that somehow I am getting credit for making an X on a calendar with the Seinfeld productivity program. It's the dumbest non-idea that was not mine, but somehow I'm getting the credit for it." Point here is, you do not have to strive to be this perfect person who does something every single day for the rest of your life, unless that kind of thing really just floats your boat. Now, that said, there are some systems that you can easily put in place to make it easier for yourself to be more consistent on a consistent basis, and some behavioral science that can really give you an edge. Step number 1 is choose one practice or habit, not 17, right? So I love that you mentioned all the kind of things that we like to do in our morning practices. So journaling, exercising, all kinds of things like that. And behavioral science tells us that if you want to be successful in terms of forming a new habit, it is best to focus on one habit, not 5, not 10, and definitely not 27. So I'd encourage you to ask yourself, out of everything that you could do that feels good, which one habit or one practice is going to give you the most bang for the buck, given what you want to experience at this stage and season of your life? So is it riding your bike for those 20 minutes in the morning, or is it something else? Take a look inside and then choose one.
Rule number 3, use your life to the fullest.
The average human lifespan is absurdly, insultingly brief. Assuming you live to be about 80, you have just over 4,000 weeks. Oh, I mean, did that hit you in the gut like it hit me? 4,000 weeks. I don't know about you, but to me, that does not seem like a very long time at all. Now, assuming that the vast majority of people watching the show right now are like you, meaning you are not an infant, that means you've already blown through quite a big chunk of your 4,000 week allotment. That is a sobering wake-up call. Am I right? And you know, I think many of us have been experiencing what I call the great reassessment. I mean, we're still in this global pandemic, right? Our entire lives have been turned upside down, and many of us do not want to go back to the breakneck pace of the before times. In fact, I think a lot of folks are reassessing their lives and asking themselves some very important questions like, how do I want to spend my time differently moving forward? I mean, do I really want to be on my phone for hours a day, looking at social media, at people trying to convince you how great they are? Do I really want to keep working these punishing 10 to 12-hour days, staring at a computer screen as though I'm going to get some grand first prize hustle trophy at the end? Or will I ever get to write that novel or learn that language or take more trips or spend more time with my family while they're actually still alive? I gotta say, from my perspective, the Great Reassessment is actually this magical window of opportunity to make some long overdue changes. So with that in mind, I'm really curious. Where are you in terms of the Great Reassessment? Has this been on your mind lately and in your heart lately? And more specifically, when you think about this notion that on average, in total, you get about 4,000 weeks to live, and you've likely already lived a significant portion of that, what specifically do you want to do with the time you've got left? I mean, are there some important dreams and goals that you really want to prioritize? Or are there some unhealthy patterns and habits or even projects or relationships that no longer deserve your time or your energy? Now, I don't want you to just think about all this, right? I don't want you to keep this in your head. I want you to actually write your answers down in the comments below, because writing it down is a part of what helps you make anything real. Because guess what? Whether you've got 2,000 or 200 weeks left, I'm here to challenge you to be courageous and intentional about how you use that remaining time. So here is your 3-part question for this week. Question number 1. What's the one thing that you're doing right now? Not because it's true to your heart, but because you feel it's expected of you. I mean, maybe you're doing something out of habit or obligation, but secretly you know that it's time to move on. So that's question number 1. Question number 2 is, what's one courageous change you want to make to be more true to yourself in terms of how you spend your time? What's one change that would make you feel great about how you're using the remaining 2,000 or however many weeks that you've got left? And then question number 3 is, what's one action step you can take right now to start making that change happen? So do you need to make a phone call? Do you need to have a conversation? Is it something else like signing up for a class or booking a trip? Doesn't matter what it is, but I want you to write it down, make it clear, specific, and actionable.
Rule number 4, start before you're ready.
When I was first training in terms of wanting to be a coach and becoming a coach, it was so much in terms of personal development work, and it was awesome. I loved working with clients. I was like 23, 24 years old. And not only was I helping folks try and get results in their own life, I was also doing this work on myself. And one of the things I realized was that defining myself as a coach, first of all, that never really quite felt right to me. It felt very limiting and narrow and not quite on. But I admitted that I had this dream to dance. Now, let's set some background. No dance training whatsoever. Never taken a formal dance class in my life. And it was like I was around 24, 25, which sadly in the professional dance world, it's a little over the hill to start, right? That's a very, very late start. And anyway, I finally got real with myself that I wanted to do this. And so I started taking professional dance classes in New York City. And it was amazing. I found myself coming alive. And this was great. And so I was taking class at Crunch Fitness, and my teachers were like, "You're actually really good." And I remember, Jay, I was literally like, "Are you talking about me?" I was like, wait, like, I don't have any technique. They're like, no, you should really consider start teaching. And I was yeah. Wow. Which, given the fact that previous to that, I had, failed on Wall Street, I had failed in the magazine industry, I had all these failures, and I was keeping myself alive, quite frankly, because I wasn't earning a lot of money as a coach by bartending and waiting tables. So the fact that someone thought I was good at something was that just little grain of like, oh, you are kind of good at something. It was great. Cut to. I said, all right, I'm going to try out and become a substitute teacher at Crunch. I'm going to teach these hip hop classes. I had no idea what the hell I was doing.
Cool. You're so cool.
So love that. It was just sheer passion, right? And I was just doing everything I could, just trying to make it through. One of my first classes ever that I taught on my own, someone came up to me after class and she said, "You're really good." And I was like, "Thank you. That means the world to me." She's like, "I work for MTV and we're working on a new show and we are looking for a choreographer / producer. You should come in." And Jay, it was a moment. Like, this was my first real class ever. Again, so like nervous and awkward and unsure of myself. So what came through my head? You're not ready yet. That it was like, I was even praying. I was like, universe, why did this have to happen? I am certainly not ready. I'm not good. I don't know what the hell's going on, but this is an amazing opportunity because I grew up on MTV. Yeah. So I couldn't say no, right? Because again, I could hear my inner clock going like, "Girl, you're not getting any younger, so you might as well say yes." So I said yes to this opportunity. And I remember standing outside of the Viacom building in New York City the day before, I was like, when I was about to go up for this interview that afternoon. And Jay, I wanted to throw up. Like, I was so nauseous. I was so not ready. Like, I was actually thinking, should I throw up in this like metal trash can, or should I like go inside and go to the bathroom so that I can clean myself up before I actually went to the interview? So I went into the building and I stood in front of the boss's door, the person who I was going to interview with. And I like shook myself out and I just said, "You are not ready, but you're going to start before you're ready because it's an incredible opportunity. And no matter what happens, you're going to feel good about yourself that you just went for it." Yeah. And I went in for that interview and I booked the job. Wow. And so it was this experience of me putting myself into kind of this whole world that I was in over my head. So let's be clear. I was working with dancers that had decades more experience than I did. They were talking about dance terms that not only could I not perform, I didn't even know what the hell they were, but I made my way through by showing up as professionally as I could, by being honest about my inexperience, but also by bringing my gifts that I did have to the table. And that one opportunity, dancing and choreographing and producing for MTV, that led to fitness videos. That led to this increased learning curve where I got to learn basically 3 to 4 years worth of experience in like 3 months, which eventually led to me choreographing commercials for Reebok and then eventually becoming one of the world's first Nike elite dance athletes, all because I was willing to start before I was ready. And every single area of my life, I still do it in business to this day. There's so many things I say yes to that I'm like, somewhere in the back of my mind is like, you're not ready yet. And I'm like, that means I got to go. That means I got to strap myself in and go like, we're doing this. I will learn as I go.
Yeah.
So this idea of starting before we're ready, it doesn't mean that we're irresponsible. Doesn't mean that we don't do our research. And it doesn't mean that we override our intuition, that if perhaps, there was years ago, and I'll say this, that people approached me to write a book.
Yes.
And I legitimately wasn't ready yet, but it was because my focus was in other areas. So I had other priorities. I knew from a deeper level, it wasn't about the fear. It was about trusting my own timing.
Yes.
But when you know you want to do something and you're clear that this is your path, using the mantra start before you're ready is an amazing way to beat procrastination, to leapfrog over your fear, and to get going.
Also, to make sure you're actually taking action after watching this video, I've designed a special free worksheet just for this video. The worksheet will highlight all of the lessons learned in this video, as well as pull out our 3 favorite learnings and quotes that will inspire you to actually do something. The worksheet will also give you space to write down what your key takeaways are and your specific plan of action to make sure you're getting results. If you want the worksheet designed specifically for this video, absolutely for free, there's a link in the description below. Go click on it and start building the momentum in your life and your business. I'll see you there. Rule number 5, activate your imagination.
There's a